Hydroneer delay hooks do not work the way you probably think. The punchline up front, and then I'll dig into the detail. There's two problems. Number one, delay stacking. If you put two 10-second delay hooks one after the other, after a logic repeater, you will not get 20 seconds of delay, even though you think you should. And two, input deleting. The delay hooks aren't truly delaying repeated input. They're actually deleting or ignoring input greater than the amount of the delay hook. I'm going to share some recommendations and how to work around this and get delays beyond 1 or 10 seconds. In my opinion, this is a weird design choice not to allow delay stacking because players expect if you put a repeater and then you put a 10-second delay and another 10-second delay, then you're going to get 20 seconds of delay. And that's not really what's happening. Before I get into the how and why, I do need to give credit to Hex and Hammer, who built this model. I made some changes and tweaked it a little bit, but the design is his. I also sped up this video about 5 times so that you don't have to wait several minutes to see what's happening. But you can see the lights pulsing through. Let's talk about delay stacking first. If you have a repeater sending logic values of 1 every second, and then you put a 10-second delay hook after that, you're going to get an output of 1 every 10 seconds, just as you would expect. However, if you add an additional 10-second delay right after it, you're still going to get that 1 signal every 10 seconds. It's not going to be 20 seconds. It's easy to test, and you can see it right here. Even if you add 4 10-second delay hooks, one after the other, you're not going to get a signal at the end every 40 seconds. You're going to get a signal every 10 seconds. And again, you can see it right here. What's happening is that the waves of signals are traveling through the logic pipe. And because there's lights in between each of the delay hooks, you can see how those signals are traveling across the pipe. They're not waiting on each other. Those signals, as soon as one says I'm finished delaying, gets another signal right away. It's either a 1 signal or a 0 signal, and they're each holding at 10 seconds. But because they're each holding at 10 seconds, at the very end of the pipe, they're getting a signal every 10 seconds. It's not accumulating those signals. Thus, every time you stack, it does not increment the amount of delay as you might think it should. So again, no matter how many you stack, you're only going to get a delay at the end once every 10 seconds. Now let's jump to the end of the pipe real quick just to see what's going on up close on the counters. You can see that first counter on the far left with no delays is just counting up every second. Now, again, this is being sped up about 5 times. So it's incrementing every single second. Now, the second one from the left has a 10-second delay timer on it, delay hook. The third one has 2, the fourth one has 3, and the fifth one has 4. And you can see that if you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 delay hooks right after each other sequentially, you see that the end result is still the same. Every 10 seconds, it's going to increment. And you can even validate it by looking at that 10-second counter. You can see every time it hits 10 seconds, all the other ones get updated. Now, they're a little bit off because of just, irregularity, but you'll know that it's not actually incrementing every 20 seconds or every 30 seconds. Otherwise, those numbers in the subsequent pipes would be different and smaller. The only difference is between the pipes that have delays and the pipe that does not, which is the first one. Now, this only works, or this only happens if you have a repeater at the front. If you're manually sending signals that are sent to the delay less than the delay amount, you're going to get the results you expect. If you go slower than the entire pipe, then the delay hooks will work correctly and you will get the results that you're expecting. This actually isn't the weirdest part. Actually, that's about how signals get deleted, which I'll get to in just a second. But let's just talk about how we solve this real quick. And again, this is code changes, developers to decide if he wants to do these things, but it could be solved by simply saying, instead of a fixed delay hook of 1 or 10 seconds, just click on the delay hook and say, hey, you enter in how many seconds you want the delay to be, and then you're going to get the results that you expect and are looking for. But for now, if you want a longer delay, here's how you fix that. You can add, after the delay, 1 or 10 seconds, you can add a validator hook, which is the 0 with a line through it, and then immediately after that, a flip-flop hook after that. And what's going to happen is essentially that validator hook is going to ignore every other signal and just send ones when it gets the ones. And then if you add a flip-flop hook after that, it'll turn those ones back into ones and zeros. And so essentially that doubles the delay. So you can add those two hooks together as many as you want to in pairs, and it will effectively double the delay and get you exactly the results that you're looking for. Now let's talk about input deleting. The delay hooks say in the description that they, delay input, but they actually don't. So if you have a repeater and it, as you know, it sends a signal every single second. And if you put a delay hook after it and set up a counter in the end, and you let the repeater run for 10 seconds, it sends out 10 signals, right? And if you turn it off at that point or disconnected it, you would expect that the counter would then say 10 with all the signals in between being delayed by 10 seconds. But that's actually not happening. What's really happening is the repeater sends out 10 signals, and when the first signal hits the delay, that delay hook then says, I'm pausing, I'm holding that one signal for 10 seconds. And any signal that comes in after it, I'm ignoring, I'm deleting those. So it's going to truncate every single signal that comes in afterwards until it releases that signal. So when it receives a signal, there's 10 more behind it that come from the repeater because they're every second. Those are all being truncated. And as soon as that 10 seconds passes, then that signal is then being released and it goes forward. And then it takes in the next signal and holds onto that for 10 seconds while ignoring the next 9 subsequent signals. This is kind of weird, and it's kind of weird behavior. And it took me a while to wrap my head around. If you're just delaying signals, then I would expect every signal to pass through it to be delayed, not to be deleted. So wrapping this up, we got 2 issues with these hooks, right? We've got delay stacking, which does not work the way I think people thinks it works, and 2, we've got the input that's just being deleted. I'm super confident in the results that I'm sharing and how I've done it. Just as Hexhammer shared those files, I'm going to share the files that I use so you can see it for yourself, with the changes that I've made to try to make it a little bit easier to see and a little bit easier to test. And let me know what you think. Hope this was helpful, and hopefully we can get more clarity around exactly how this is supposed to work, and if all this is by design or if not. I am curious. Thanks.